Have you ever Googled best free plugins only to find website after website regurgitating the obvious and usual suspects? These lists are a huge waste of time because there are so many awesome free plugins that just aren't on these lists, proving classics that are actually awesome. And I'm betting even if you've heard of them, you definitely forgot they existed. And in this video, I'm going to refresh your memory of these genius gems that won't cost you a penny, including 4 from one of the most prestigious audio companies pro mixers love. And we're starting with 2 plugins from a freeware company that has been around for over a decade. What makes these 2 plugins so much fun and actually useful in a production is that they aren't trying to emulate any existing analog gear. Instead, they bring their own interpretation of what delays and choruses can be. In fact, they force you to create something unique because there aren't any presets. Just start turning knobs and experimenting to find something that's fresh and unique for your productions. Tungsten and Cesium from Green Oak Software are forgotten and fun effect plugins that you'll want to abuse in your next track. And while working with effect plugins that help you create unique atmospheric space in a track, producers often rely on other plugins to create stereo trickery to give your mix that pro-like ear candy. And a lot of these plugins can seriously dent your wallet. Luckily though, there is one company with a smorgasbord of free plugins to help with just this. Melda Productions' free bundle has 3 hidden gems, M Stereo Expander, M Spectral Pan, and M Auto Pan, that will put tracks in creative places in the mix without costing you a dime. But Melda Productions isn't the only company with the free plugin bundle sporting a lot of hidden gems. The next plugin company has a frankly overwhelming assortment of free plugins also. Kiloheart's Gate is fantastic and not just for a free plugin. It comes on board with the look ahead for an even cleaner gate sound and you can sidechain. Then there's their Transient Shaper, which is the best free transient shaper out there. And now they've applied their music production expertise for their newest free distortion plugin, Shaper. And even though it's sick and new, everyone has already forgotten about it. And with all these effects, you're gonna want to use some reverb. But before you reach for that default free reverb plugin, I found that a lot of them sound good in isolation, but then fall apart when you put them into a mix. That's why I like Tau Audio's OG free reverb plugin. The reverb sounds great and it falls right into place in a track and aids in creating even bigger, lusher soundscapes for all sorts of productions. Now when we get down into the low end of a production, it can feel like there are only paid options available to make your mix sound sick, because so many free plugins for this area just suck. Thankfully, 4 plugin manufacturers have created 4 high quality plugins that focus on the low end of a production to get even fatter sounds. 2 cool plugins that can help you shape beefy and punchy low end are Thump 2 from Metric Halo and Plugin Alliance's BX Subfilter. These are both low end synthesis plugins and they each do something a little different to help extend the low end impact of any instrument. Then there's Boz Digital Labs' Bark of Dog, and lastly, Tone Project's Basslane, which is the light version of Basslane Pro that I covered in my Genius Low End Plugins Pro Mixers Wanna Keep Secret video. Now let's get into 2 really fun compressor plugins. And these aren't just free versions of hardware emulations, but instead they take a unique approach that combines the magic of older analog tube compressors with the flexibility of a digital compressor. ADHD's leveling tool may seem to have a faceplate that looks like an 1176 and an LA2A had a baby.
Is it me or was that the ugliest baby?
But it isn't a FET or opto style compressor, but in fact a tube style compressor. Then Tokyo Dawn Labs Molotok. It's a light version of the pro-loved full gentleman's version. And a huge part of what makes tube compressors in analog gear great is when you really push them. You get that sweet, toasty, oh so yummy saturation that can be hard to replicate digitally without spending a ton of money. Luckily, I found 3 terrific saturation plugins that when they work surprisingly well. Hornet Audio's plugin Valvolva emulates tube circuit saturation and has 7 different flavors to choose from. Then there is WaveArt's 20-year-old plugin, Tube Saturator Vintage. This underappreciated classic offers saturation along with 3 selectable Baxandall EQ options and a fat mode for more punch. And lastly, there is TV Pro Audio's GSAT Plus. This beast includes 4 saturation characteristics: the ability to introduce and customize odd and even harmonics, clipping, oversampling, and a bunch of other incredibly useful features. And before you leave TV Pro Audio's website, they have another plugin that's free and worth a download. It gives you features in the box that you would find in more expensive monitor controllers, like muting or soloing left, center, right channels, and a dim option available via their plugin Isolate. Get it? Isolate, spelled ISOLate? I mean, how can you not download it after a clever name like that?
Good one.
So we've got compression and saturation taken care of, but you might be asking yourself,
what about making shit punchy and loud?
To add punchiness to your track or your mix, one of the best tricks pros use to do this is by utilizing clipping, which shaves off the top end of a transient to increase the perceived impact. For individual tracks, Yum Audio's Crispy Clip Lite and Hornet Audio's plugin Magnus Lite do a bang-up job, and Kazrock Zero Clip does splendidly well on the entire mix and tracks. And now that punchy, time to make them loud. You'll want to try the Lost and Forgotten Limiter plugin from D16 Frontier, which still holds up and sounds f***ing fantastico. Now, let's talk about the 4 plugins from one of the most prestigious plugin companies that pros absolutely love. First up is a plugin that emulates the saturation from a beloved British preamp. Acoustic Audio's Fire the Gold is one of the free plugins from their One Knob collection, and it sounds bloody amazing. And then there's another amazing plugin from Acoustic Audio that keeps getting lost in the sea of Pultec plugin emulations that everyone seems to be making these days. Not only does theirs sound amazing, but Copy the Pun has a few extra features like a low pass filter and a germanium-based preamp option that most other free plugins from competitors don't have. And then there's their forgotten top-tier channel strip plugin, Eminence, that offers a ton of vintage character options with 3 preamp saturation options, along with fusing 2 different old-school solid-state dynamic processors in one, and a 3-band EQ section featuring extremely rare and nearly impossible to find germanium EQs. And if these 3 plugins sound too good to be true, you're going to love this next behemoth of a plugin that's designed to help any mix sound better. Their Frankenstein compressor is another super underrated gem. Arctic lets you control compression and limiting and saturation via the top morph slider, giving you insane flexibility in tonal shaping. Then there are fine-tuned controls like an input and output trim, a mix control, a filter, and a makeup gain slider, plus another slider for adjusting the attack and release of the processing along with oversampling controls. But before you run off to download these amazing free gems, I want to let you in on something I've uncovered. It's a collection of genius free plugins that pros use that they've kept secret. And you'll want to watch this video right here to see what these amazing game-changing plugins are.